They arrested me for something I never did. If you're just finding this, let me catch you up in 30 seconds, and then I'll tell you the part everybody's been asking about. The part where it turns. My name is Vern Ostrander. I'm 62 years old, a retired middle school principal from Erie, Pennsylvania. In part 1, my daughter-in-law Cassidy told the police that I grabbed her and shoved her against a kitchen counter. She had a bruise on her arm to prove it, 4 marks, in the shape of fingers, photographed and documented. I never laid a hand on that woman in my life, but it was her word against mine, and she had an injury on her body, and I had nobody who could say where I was that afternoon. So they booked me. They took my mugshot. A judge ordered me out of the 2-family house that I own, away from my own grandchildren, and I spent 5 weeks in a motel on Peach Street, while my name ran across the front page of the paper, and the school quietly took my plaque down off the wall. That's where we left off. 34 years of a good name, gone in about 40 minutes, on the word of one person. What I didn't tell you yet is the one thing that saved me, and I want to be honest with you right now, before anything else. It was not brilliance. It was not some master plan. It was a phone bill. If you're new here or you came back for the ending, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because the turn this takes is the entire reason I'm sitting here a free man. I was in that motel room at 2 o'clock in the morning, about a week in, at the absolute bottom of it. I was going through my accounts, because I had to start canceling things I couldn't afford anymore, and I opened the cell phone account. 5 lines. Mine, Trevor's, Cassidy's, and 2 tablets for the grandkids. $211 a month, which I had paid every single month for 6 years without ever once looking at it. And I sat straight up in that bed, because I remembered setting those phones up at my kitchen table back in 2019, with my late wife Marlene standing over my shoulder, telling me to make sure the pictures of the grandkids got saved somewhere safe. So I had turned on the automatic photo backup for the whole family on my account, paid for by me. Cassidy had been carrying that phone in her pocket for 6 years, and every photograph she had ever taken on it had been quietly, automatically uploading into a cloud storage account owned by Vernon Ostrander. She never thought about it, not one time in 6 years. Why would she? Old Vern pays the bill. I logged into that account at 2:40 in the morning in a motel on Peach Street, and I want to tell you what I expected to find. I expected to find nothing. Maybe, if I was lucky, one photo that put me somewhere else on the afternoon they said I did it. That is not what I found. I found 2 years of my daughter-in-law photographing her own injuries, dozens of them, in the bathroom mirror, in the car, in bad light, at odd angles, at strange hours of the night, her arm, her ribs, her collarbone, her throat, every single one with a date, a time, and a location, baked right into the file, because that is what a phone does, whether you understand it or not. She had been documenting it, quietly, alone, for 2 years, building a record she was too frightened to ever use, saving it, in case one day she found the courage to get out. And she had no idea that every one of those photographs was landing in the account of the man she would eventually be forced to accuse. I sat on the end of that motel bed, and I cried so hard I had to put a towel over my face so the people in the next room wouldn't hear me. Not because I was saved. I hadn't even gotten that far. but because I finally understood what I had been listening to through that wall for 2 years while I turned the television up. If you've ever had a moment where the whole truth of something landed on you all at once, type the word wall in the comments. I read every one. And stay with me, because what my lawyer found next is the thing that actually ended it. I called a criminal defense attorney named Deb Kalinowski on State Street at 7 o'clock the next morning. She met me at 8. I put my laptop on her desk, and she went through those photos for 2 hours without saying a word. And then she found the one that ended the case against me. The bruise. The bruise. The 4 marks on Cassidy's upper arm. The ones the police photographed on the evening of April 8th. The ones that were the entire case against me. There was a photograph of that exact bruise, on that exact arm, taken on Cassidy's own phone. Monday, April 7th, 9:47 in the morning. 30 hours and 28 minutes before I supposedly gave it to her. Deb Kalinowski put her pen down, and she looked at me, and she said, "Vern, the injury predates the incident. That's not a defense. That's the end of the case." And then she found the video, 41 seconds, taken a couple of months earlier, at night, from what looks like a coat pocket. You can't see anything on it, but you can hear it. I'm not going to describe what's on that recording. I heard it one time, and I will never hear it again. I'll only tell you that you can hear my son's voice, and you can hear exactly what kind of man he is when he is certain that nobody in the world is listening. She had recorded it. She had been that afraid and that brave, and she had never told a single soul. Before I tell you what I decided to do with all of it, hit subscribe if you haven't yet, because the choice I made here is the part I'm proudest of in my whole life. Now, back to it. Here's the part I need you to understand, because this is where I had to make a choice. I had, sitting on that laptop, everything I needed to destroy Cassidy Ostrander. She had filed a false police report. She had lied under oath. She had cost me my name, my home, my grandchildren, and 34 years of standing in a town I gave my whole working life to. I could have handed all of it to the district attorney and said, "Charge her," and they would have, and she would have been convicted, and she would have gone away, and my grandchildren would have gone to live with their father. I sat in that office, and I looked at 2 years of photographs of a woman's injuries, taken by that woman herself, alone, in the dark, because she believed with her whole heart that nobody was ever coming. And I said no. I said, "She didn't do this to me. He did this to me. And he used her to hold the knife." So here's what we did. We did not go to the press. We did not go to Trevor. We went to the district attorney's office, and Deb laid all of it out, and then she asked them for one thing. She asked them not to send a police officer to Cassidy. She asked them to send an advocate. Her name is Renata Fuentes, and she works with domestic violence survivors in Erie County, and she is one of the finest people I have ever come across. She sat down with Cassidy in a quiet room, with no badge and no uniform. She did not accuse her of anything. She did not threaten her. She just showed her the photographs. Her own photographs. The ones she'd taken alone in bathrooms at 2 in the morning over 2 years, certain that no one would ever see them, and no one would ever come. And Renata Fuentes said to her, "Somebody saw them, and somebody came." Cassidy told the truth that afternoon, and she did not stop talking for 4 hours. She told them Trevor had told her exactly what to say, that he had rehearsed it with her, that he told her if she didn't do it, he would take the children, and that everyone would believe him over her, because everyone always did. And she told them why he needed it done, because his father had said he was going to the police. And if that happened, Trevor Ostrander wasn't the man who coached the 7th grade team anymore. He was going to be the other thing, forever, in a town where everybody knows everybody. My son destroyed my name to protect his own. That's the whole reason. He looked at 34 years of my life and decided it was worth less to him than his reputation at a rec center on Buffalo Road. If you think this old principal did the right thing, comment the word justice below. I want to know you're out there with me. The charges against me were withdrawn on the 16th of May. The protection order against me was dismissed. I went home to my house on Wagner Avenue after 38 days in a motel. Trevor was arrested on the 22nd. He was charged in Erie County with strangulation, simple assault, terroristic threats, and intimidation of a witness. That last one for what he did to Cassidy to make her file that report against me. He hired a good lawyer, and he fought it for 8 months. And then, 3 weeks before trial, he pled guilty because his wife's own photographs and her own recording were going to be played out loud in a courtroom. He was sentenced to 4 to 8 years. He's serving it at a facility about a 40-minute drive from my house. Cassidy was never charged with anything. The district attorney's office made that decision on their own, and I want to be clear that they made it correctly. And I want to be just as clear that I asked them to. She has full custody of the children. There's a protection order in place that runs for 10 years. I signed the house on Wagner Avenue over to her in September. Both sides of it, free and clear. People ask me why, and the answer is simple. That woman spent 2 years photographing her own injuries in the dark because she thought nobody was ever going to come and help her. She lied about me because a man who was hurting her told her to, and she believed him when he said she had no choice. She was not my enemy. She was the other hostage. She apologized to me once, in a kitchen, in October, and she couldn't get through it. I told her to stop. I told her I had heard her crying through that wall for 2 years. And I turned the television up. And if we were going to sit there and hand out blame, I would want to be at the front of the line. We don't talk about it now. We talk about the kids. Ellie is 8. Sam is 5. I have them on Saturdays and on Wednesday nights. And Sam has recently informed me that when he grows up, he intends to become a garbage truck. Not a garbage man, a truck. Now let me tell you the last thing, because it's the truest thing in this whole story. The arrest was in the paper on a Thursday. Front page of the local section, with my photograph. The dismissal, the part where I didn't do it, ran 11 weeks later. 6 lines, page 11, no picture. That's how it works. That's how it will always work. There are people in this town who will go to their graves, half believing that Vern Ostrander did something to his daughter-in-law. They'll say they heard it got cleared up, and then they'll say, but still, I have watched them do it to my face. The school called last spring and offered to put my plaque back up in the front hallway. I told them no. I told them to leave it down and give the wall to somebody else. Because I spent 34 years believing a name was a thing you build, and it turns out a name is just a thing other people agree to say about you, and they can stop agreeing in about 40 minutes. What I've got instead is this. I know exactly what I did when it counted. I heard something through a wall, and it took me 2 years too long, but I finally walked over, and I knocked on that door. And it cost me everything I had, and I would do it again tomorrow morning. Nobody's putting that on a plaque. It doesn't need one. So if there's one thing I want you to take out of all of this, it's this. If you hear it through the wall, go knock on the door. You might lose your name over it. There are worse things to lose. If you made it all the way through both parts, thank you. That means more than you know. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and tell me honestly in the comments, if it cost you everything, would you still have knocked? I read every reply. Thank you for sitting a while with a retired principal from Erie. I'll see you in the next one.